Andreas Talk, Andreas monthly talk here on Nothing FM. If you want to ask a question live, there is a link on the comments or on the description. And welcome, Andreas.
Hello, welcome. Thank you. Okay, so I think everybody knows how it works. You can write in the chat or click on the link that's somewhere, and then I will let you in. All right. Okay, no, it's not a Zoom meeting. Sorry, it changed to this streaming platform, so it's not Zoom this evening. All right. So welcome again. Welcome to this talk tonight. And what can be said? Not much really, because there is no real message. There isn't anything that can be said. There isn't anything that needs to be said, because what happens, what seems to be happening, is just naturally whole and complete. It's just everything, so to speak, and everything in a sense that it's whole, complete, as I said. There is no additional realization to what seems to be happening. There isn't anyone separate who has lost something and could realize something. So in that sense, the whole seeking setup is an illusion. It's the same as saying there isn't anyone. There is no person. There is no separate person. And so this whole seeking circus, so to speak, is just part of that dream. Liberation, which is a story already, is not finding something. Liberation is not something that happens within that setup of I am, within that setup of awareness, so to speak. What this message points to is that this whole setup of I am, and I'm experiencing something, and I'm aware of, that this whole setup is illusory. It doesn't have any substance at all, and it doesn't have any autonomous existence, so to speak. It just doesn't have it. So in that sense, this is not a teaching. There can't be a teaching, or on the other way around, every teaching belongs to the dream of I am. I've lost something. What am I going to do in order to get it back, or to arrive, or all those things? Those would be all part of a dream. There is no such thing. Just doesn't exist. All right. That's so far from me.
There's also a link that you can.
Yeah, Joey's asking why not Zoom. I don't know. It's just a try out or something. It was not my decision. Okay, question. There's a question in the chat. Can you talk a little more about nothing or emptiness? What is that? What is experience? What is that is experienced? Well, in the end, nothing or emptiness can't be really talked about because it's not experienced. In the end, what this says is that experience itself is the illusion or is illusory. And it would only be the experiencer which would hope there to be content in things, an essence, a truth, meaning, value, those things. But when it turns out that the experiencer itself is illusory, so to speak, the whole assumption that there is something in there, that there is something within what happens, this whole illusion drops. So, in that sense, everything is empty, so to speak. Nothing assumes things in that, like value, meaning, what I just said. Okay, and there's a difference. A question. What's the difference of one moment? What's the difference of sensations and the sense of me? Well, sensation and sensations just are what seems to be happening, but they don't happen for anyone. And the sense of me is an illusion. It does not exist. That's the funny thing. So one could say there is the illusion of a sense of me, which means that the person just, seen from the person, it just seems to feel as if there is something inside here. That's what I mean with the sense of me. It has nothing to do with sensations and feelings. It's just an assumption that there really is someone or something in here. And this seems to be felt. It seems to be a felt presence. But in the end, it's exactly that presence, this seemingly felt presence, which doesn't exist, which doesn't have any reality at all. That's the funny thing. In a way, the person is constantly assuming to experience itself, but it doesn't happen. At the same time, this is not happening. And I can't explain that. It is not logical. I can't say anything about that. But in a way, liberation, or in liberation, this sense, this illusory sense of I am, just drops, vanishes, melts away, turned out to never have been happening. But it's not logical. But sensations seem to be happening, but actually there is no experience of them or no observer. So in the end, no one can really say if there are sensations happening or not. They would just be blindly themselves. Is the constant dissatisfaction with everything the result of being a separate self? Yes, one could say so. I wouldn't call it a result really. They just go together. It seems to be that the sense of presence in itself is unfulfilling. To be present means to be as if something is missing. That's what seems to be happening. So the moment there is awareness, the moment there is self-awareness, there seems to be a subtle subtle sense of unfulfilling, out of which the seeking energy comes, apparently. Okay. I'll put hello. Hello, you're online now. You can ask a question. I don't see your name. Yes, exactly.
Did me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just looking around how it works
Ah, all right.
with this new thing. But hello, Andreas. It's nice to see
Hello.
you. Hello.
See you.
I just joined. I have no question for the moment. Maybe later. Okay,
All
thanks.
right.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Cool. So whenever there is self-awareness, so to speak, there is automatically, instantly a sense of unfulfillment. All right. There's Jerry. Hello.
Oh, I don't understand. What is this? Like you have to. I.
Yes, exactly. You click the link and then I let you in.
Oh, then but now on the other one, it's like. Oh God, I have no question. I just don't understand how this whole thing works because I'm on the YouTube thing, and then I have to mute YouTube to ask a question here.
I have no idea. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm new, I'm as new to it as you are. Probably 10 minutes ahead of you. Okay, so I kick you out again.
yeah, kick me out.
See
Why
you.
couldn't we just stay with Zoom?
Well, I don't know. See you. No, no uncomfortable questions. Bye. All right. Okay. Probably Armin doesn't have a question as well. Hello, Armin. No. All right. And bye. Question. It's noticeable in your discourse that apparently is tagged onto most affirmations. Is there an affirmation you can make which is not apparent? Well, no, I can't. No, I'm sorry. No, because in a way, this message, if you would say there is a message, it's all contained in apparent. Because what's being said in the end is that nothing is real. So, no. There's just no real happening. That's the thing. Nothing is real. And there's also no real knowing of that. That's why there is no message in the end. There's no message at all. Okay, comment. It reminds me of when I ask my boss uncomfortable questions and he just smiles and says, yeah, I don't know. Yes. Question. If nothing is happening, Why do we evolve? How do we evolve spiritually? Well, in the end, not at all. Not really. In that sense, spirituality would be a part of the dream. Or the person being on a path is the dream. The path doesn't have to be spiritual. It could be any other so-called path, whatever, to, I don't know, becoming rich or becoming more human or whatever. So this would be all part of the dream, because basically there just isn't anyone. So it's exactly this experience, so to speak, of I am now here and I'm moving forward in time. I'm moving forward through time, hopefully to something that's better, so to speak, or more evolved or stuff like that. It's exactly that notion of existence, which is illusory. And the funny thing is that it only consists of the experience to be on a path. Of course, the hope within that experience is that one day I will arrive, one day it'll be good, I will be fulfilled, I will be realized, I will be happy, really happy, I will be really realized, stuff like that. That's the underlying assumption within that sense to be on a path. But it's exactly this which doesn't exist, which is illusory. So there is no real evolvement, and there is no spirituality in that sense. Nothing will happen. Wholeness will not become more wholeness, so to speak. So there is no evolution. Okay. Question. When I'm hungry, the idea of a schnitzel will appear in here, in the place where the experiencer usually is. How does one drop the I when practical matters continually reinforce the feeling that something is going on here? Well, there is no answer to this, because nothing really reinforces the sense of I except itself. So no thought, no feeling, nothing that seems to be happening has the capability to reinforce the I or to confirm that there is an I. It would just be the apparent me, so to speak, that apparently reinforces itself by reflecting itself in things. It's basically me being aware of the thought of a schnitzel, saying, oh, I must be here because I'm aware of that thought. But the thought of wanting a schnitzel, or the thought of there being a schnitzel, is just itself. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't confirm separation. It doesn't confirm the I. It would be just part of the dream of I, that all that I'm aware of confirms reality, confirms separation. It doesn't happen. Thanks, Andreas. Sorry, my question might appear to be tricky or convoluted. It's not intended like that. So anything beyond there is nothing, no thing, is always only appearance? Would that be right? Well, no, because, or I don't know what you mean. Yes, maybe it's tricky. No, there's just what seems to be happening, which is simultaneously no thing. So there's just this, but for no one. So there isn't someone aware of what seems to be happening. There's just what seems to be happening. But no one arrives in that, no one knows that. In that sense, this is no thing. Okay, there is, I think, Ian. Maybe you want to say something. I
Oh, hi,
took
Andreas.
you in. which doesn't happen. Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
So when you're always with this appearance of everything, it's such a wonderful chaos. It's like you just never know what's going to happen next. It can be quite enjoyable if you just allow it to be.
Oh,
So it's kind of a wonderful chaos when you start to enjoy it, you know, rather than always trying to make it be something for you.
Ian, I'm sorry, you somehow went out. I can't put you in anymore. I don't know what happens here. Okay, you are back on.
I'm back
sorry.
on?
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of a new technology, yeah. But yeah, I just find that once you allow the appearance to just be what it is, it's such a wonderful chaos. It's like you can just start to enjoy it. I was out walking in a snowstorm earlier this morning. And it's just wonderful just to enjoy that, you know, just to see all this chaos going on. And it's just what happens. There's no need to try and change it, you know. I just wanted to make that comment that the appearance is always coming through, whether you want to change it or not. It's just what it is.
Absolutely.
So
It's just
enjoying that today. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's what seems to be happening. You enjoying what seems to be going on.
Instead of trying to make it something else, I'm just allowing it to be what it is. It's such a different place. I just find it much more enjoyable. So
yeah.
That's all. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you. Okay, William.
Hello. So there's no individual anywhere already.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't believe that at all, but
that's right. No, honestly, yeah, all right.
So there's no individual anywhere already, but there's bodies that claim to be people.
Well, no one knows that really, but as a story, one could say that's what seems to be happening.
What do you mean by nobody knows that?
Well, that's the thing. In order to be certain of that statement, but there are bodies, at least, you actually would need someone who's aware of that. That's what I mean. It's actually a story.
Okay, so there's no individual anywhere already. I feel like a separate individual. When the sense of being a person ends, and when it apparently starts, there's consequences that arise with it and consequences that fall away when the individual falls away.
That's what seems to be happening, yes.
So what I can't understand is if there's no individual already, why are some bodies experiencing the consequences of separation?
Well, there is no answer to that because it's just what seems to be happening. That's the thing. You or this body claiming to be, yeah, but I'm me, there is someone in here, just is what seems to be happening. But no one knows that really. And there is no answer to why or how, or is it even real? That's the thing. You assuming there to be someone doesn't create someone. There's just no center in you, as there is no center in here. And even this assumption, this illusion that there is a center, doesn't create the center.
So when the sense of being a person stops happening, what changes?
That's the thing, nothing really. Because the dropping of the sense of I is the turning out that there never was anything. So there isn't a real change going on.
And there's no real change because there never was a real before.
So to speak. So one in the story, one could say what changes is that the assumption that there has to be some change for there to be wholeness, this just drops. This would be the apparent change, if you want so.
But what about all the other changes, like the physiological changes and the psychological changes?
Yes, that's what seems to be happening. But the surprise is that nothing really changes, even with those apparent changes.
It's not a real change.
Absolutely, yes.
But so seen from the perspective of the apparent person, that would seem like a real change and a big significant difference.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, the person is constantly experiencing change, so to speak. First, it experiences happiness. 5 minutes later, it experiences sadness. Then it experiences sunshine. 10 minutes later, it experiences rain. And seen from the person, it all seems to be really different things. It's absolutely certain that sadness is different from happiness, and that rain is different from sunshine. It'll be here, it'll experience itself as here, being aware all the time in this divided reality. And it would say, well, that's rain. I know that. I'm aware of it. And 10 minutes later, it would say, that is sunshine. I'm aware of it. And sunshine is really different from rain. But the only thing which would do that, which would live in that experience, is this seeming self-awareness. Nothing else does that. That's the thing. This would be the only thing which lives in this known, separate, divided reality, where everything is different from each other. The chair is different from the floor is different from the table is different from this body, a thought is different from a feeling, a good thought is different from a bad thought, all those things. But this whole discrimination, this whole division, so to speak, would come from this illusion of self-awareness, which is the first apparent division, so to speak. But when that drops, there is nothing there which could really discriminate. There may be a function of discrimination. The brain, so-called, seems to know what rain and sunshine is, but there is nothing experiencing it to be different things.
And that can't make any sense.
Absolutely, yes, because this whole thing is not a conceptual thing. This is not, there is no one, is not a concept. It's not a conceptual idea or something. So there is, in that sense, there is absolutely no logic in this. Because this whole reality where logic could work in just doesn't exist. It's an assumed reality.
So there's no reality in which logic can operate.
Exactly, because logic again is based on a divided reality. It's based on separation again.
But there is logic because, for example, if it was earlier in the day,
apparent logic.
okay, it's later on in the day now, and it's like the winter, so obviously it gets dark faster. But let's just assume it's earlier in the day and it's light outside. If you open the curtain, the room becomes brighter. If you close the curtain, the room becomes darker. So there is real logic, or not?
No, that's not logic, that's an experience. The person would experience it as that. And yes, as long as there is the sense of I am, it will be experienced like that. It's not wrong. It just is what it is.
So let's say now you're sitting there and you're not having the me experience. There's no me experience there. Someone comes into your room and turns the light switch off and it goes dark.
Yes.
That is logical. Somebody turned the light switch off. It leads to it being dark. And then say they turn the light switch back on, it makes it light again.
All right. Okay.
So you would experience a logical pattern.
No, I wouldn't experience anything because there is no one there to do so.
So then if somebody came in and turned the light switch off and it went dark, the body would just respond and turn the light switch back on. But
that would, yeah,
there'd be no awareness of a logical sequence of turning
yes.
the light.
Yes, there wouldn't be the awareness from a separate standpoint thinking that there is what happens, plus me.
How could that be understood?
Oh, it can't be. Oh, it has nothing to do with understanding. What we talk about here can't be understood or experienced. Understanding is almost, no, it's a story now, what I say. It's almost superficial, but the person's dilemma is that what we speak about isn't even experienced. And all the person consists of is experiencing. And what the person is seeking is an experience. The personal reality is an experiential reality. But what this message is saying is that experience itself, this experiential reality, is illusory. But this has nothing to do with logic. It has nothing to do with understanding the concept or the idea of they're not a person or whatever. One
So
could also say wholeness, or one could say the person's experience seems to contradict wholeness. Because within the person's experience is constantly saying, this is not wholeness yet. I still have to realize it. So the personal experience seems to be the contradiction to wholeness.
and so when there's no longer the personal experience happening in the body,
Yes,
there's no awareness of wholeness. There's just what's happening.
exactly. There is no wholeness as such. There is no circumstance called wholeness that someone will be aware of. When there is no one, what's left is what seems to be happening. And apparent, or no, and it seems to be automatically whole. But again, not as an additional circumstance. Again, not as something that someone is aware of.
And there's no awareness that things are whole.
Absolutely.
There's just no energetic sense that something needs to be different.
Absolutely.
So nobody
Exactly.
gets that or knows it.
No one ever. Yes.
But there's
There
no
is nothing
longer
to get.
the seeking tension to get somewhere.
Again?
But there's no longer then that seeking tension to get somewhere.
Exactly. Yes. But it's not replaced by something or by anyone who has found.
But it is a
And
loss of the tension, of the need.
apparently, yes. But in the end, there is nothing left which would even know that.
That there was something else before.
Or that now the tension has been lost. Yes. Yeah.
I want to get there.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the problem. The person tries to replace its experience of separation with an experience of wholeness. That's where you can see everywhere. That's people trying to become happy, fulfilled, enlightened, whatever. It's all the attempt to replace the experience of unfulfillment with an experience of wholeness, of having arrived, of whatever.
So the person is dependent on experience and knowing.
Oh, exactly.
It
It is experiencing and knowing. So it's dependent on that.
Because say, for example, the separation ended here. Nobody would know anything happened. But now that there's the sense of being someone, the idea of the separation falling away and me not being there to have that experience feels empty, pointless.
Yes. Yes. It's
an effort.
It is as if I would suggest to you to stay in deep sleep for the rest of your life. That's basically the least unattractive thing that could happen to you.
Well, yeah, because I think there's no point. I think there's no point to it because I'm not going to get anything or get anywhere.
Absolutely.
And I want to get somewhere.
Yes.
And the dream is that there is somewhere you can get to. Is that the dream?
Absolutely. But it starts with that there is somewhere where you are at right now. It's not just the dream that you will arrive somewhere. The dream starts with, I am now here at this point, experiencing this situation. That is the dream. And all the hopes and assumptions just come out of that.
So it starts with the assumption that I am here at this point. So I think I'm sat in a room on a sofa in England, in a city called Birmingham. Right. And I think you are in Germany. I don't know what city you're in, and you're sitting in a room, in a building. There's no experience there of being sat in a room.
Yes, absolutely.
There's
There's just sitting in a room.
no experience there of being in Germany
Yes.
as opposed to England.
Yeah.
But you
Oh, yeah.
know that you're not in England.
Well, no. I mean, I can understand the concept, of course.
I know that I'm not in Germany.
Yeah.
And
well.
I know we're in two separate countries. So that is a point, isn't it? I'm in England.
Yes, that's all right. I understand. The moment there is the sense of I'm now here, there can be a whole story coming out of that.
So you don't think I'm in England?
I'm not there to think A or B. There just isn't anywhere.
I'm trying to understand, if I'm not here, then why? How can I not be? I feel like I'm here in this point, in this position. So where am I then? If I'm not here,
yes.
Then where must I be?
Well, there is no I to be anywhere.
So there's nobody anywhere.
Yes.
So sitting in a room is happening.
Oh, no one knows that.
And looking at a screen is happening.
No one knows that.
This isn't helping. I'm getting more confused.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not having a go. I'll let someone else have a turn.
Yeah. All right. See you.
Thanks.
Okay, I go on to Joseph. One moment. Okay. Hello, Joseph.
Oh, hey. Hi. How are you?
Hello. I'm fine. Thanks.
Good. I've never done this before, but I've been watching your videos and all the other guys, Tony Parsons and Jim Newman, for a few years. And I'm just kind of, and I just thought I would kind of jump in for a change rather than just be a voyeur of these
Yeah, nice.
events. Part of my personal story is a background in Zen Buddhism and doing tons of meditation retreats. And more recently, I was getting curious about, I guess, what people call self-inquiry.
Mm.
But so, yeah, I mean, I don't get it, but I know enough that I can't know it or I can't understand it. What you're talking about, like, it seems like there's no arriving at it through questions and answers, through meditation, because whenever we make any kind of an effort, we're reinforcing the problem, kind of? Is that somewhat?
Kind of. Not really, because it just happens by itself. I mean, if I would say that seeking would really enforce the me, it may sound as if there is another thing that you shouldn't do, seeking, for example. But what is meant is that seeking, doing something, is rather an occupation within separation than leading somewhere. That's all. Seeking never leads to finding. Or liberation wouldn't be finding. That's another way of saying it. Liberation is not the finding of something.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so what we speak about would be just the collapse of the seeking setup of the seeker and the tendency to seek, but for no reason. Not because something has been found first. That's what the person would say, would hope for. Okay, I seek, and then when I have found the real thing, I will stop seeking, because then I don't need it anymore. But liberation is rather just the end of that whole setup without having found anything in the first place. It's just the end of seeking, and it's an utter surprise that it's just already fine, without any kind of realization, without any kind of having arrived first.
I think part of the challenge that, or I don't know if challenge is the right word, but the thing I keep referencing whenever I hear you say something, or somebody else who I think gets it, understands it, is not a coming from a place of individuality. I keep referencing experiences that I've had personally years and years ago, and I've been doing this for 30 years, referencing this apparent period of time that seemed to go on for months. And it was just like there was before that, and then there was that. And during that, it was like I had no reference points, and there was complete transparency. I wouldn't even say I knew anything or that I'd figured anything out. It was kind of like I'd fallen open.
All right.
Or something. I don't know. And it and then that seemed to kind of close down. And then, you know, I want that back. And I mean, I know everybody on here knows this story, and you've heard it a zillion times. I've heard you. And you can't stop that, right? I mean, I've tried to stop it. I've tried to not do it, but then I'm busy not doing it. And that's the same as trying to do it, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's almost like the spiritual narrative is the worst and most toxic one, like to let go of too. It's just, I wish I'd never picked up a book on Buddhism almost, you know, like I just, and that I'd never learned how to meditate, because I no longer believe that it was those books and that experience that did it. And I think that's why when I hear you guys talking, because you're never referencing like an instruction or a practice.
No.
So it somehow just feels trustworthy.
Yeah, all right.
But then I'm like looking at you and kind of like, oh, he knows something and he can teach me something. And yeah, it really is hopeless. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's why I was a bit suspicious about trustworthy.
Okay.
Because what would you trust in, so to speak? It would be another idea or another concept, or in me as having achieved something or stuff like that. But yes, it's not a teaching. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And it points to something which can't be taught and all those things. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was nice meeting you. Thank you for your time.
Well, thanks for saying hello. And
okay.
Cool.
Take care.
Okay, there's Peter waiting. After that, I think I go over to the chat also, but now I'm going to Peter. Oh.
Hi, Andreas. Thank
Hello.
you. Are you aware?
No. No, no.
How do you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know that. It's just a response coming from blindness. So there isn't somewhere another awareness hidden behind claiming I'm not aware. No, it's just a blind response. It's just functioning, one could say. It's a report. It's an apparent report. But as I said, there isn't someone hiding, claiming a state or.
Thank you.
I mean, well, maybe okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, just William with a quick question, and then I go over to the chat. Hello.
I'll try and be quick. So
Well,
I can't understand the thing. Well, I'm trying to understand that there's no different positions.
yes, but this is not a logical thing. The thing is, the moment there is the experience of I am, it really feels as if there is a position, namely here. Seen from the person, it just feels like that. I'm now here. And automatically everything else is over there. I'm here and the wall is over there. I'm here, your picture is over there. Again, it has nothing to do with concepts, really. Of course, the person can dance around the concept of there being no position and somehow paint a picture in its imagination. But in the end, on an experiential level, this would still happen here, now, here.
Because the person's trying to move between different positions or different points. So I want to get from point A to point B.
Yes. But it starts with I'm at a point now. That's then you have the dream, so to speak.
So can I ask another question related to this then? Are there no separate happenings?
Yes. The only thing which would say there is a separate happening is I am, which says I'm separate from everything and I'm happening.
And it's
again, experientially, not conceptually. The person may add a huge pile of concept onto this plain experience of existence, but it actually seems to be felt. My presence, I'm here. There is something which is here. This doesn't need a story, at least not for some moments. Presence can be without story for moments. The sense of presence, the illusion of a sense of presence.
So, but that requires awareness. So even if it's not an intellectual story, the sense of awareness is an energetic thing, is what you're saying.
As a description, yes. The sense of presence, self-awareness, the I, those would be all the same for me.
It's purely energetic.
As a description, because in the end it's not even that. But that's how it would describe itself, as this holistic feeling that I am here. I'm here, I'm aware, I'm real, I'm true. And out of that, the impression that the whole world is real and that there is a reality and that this is as true as I am. And all of this is experiential or energetic, if you want so.
Experiential is a great word. I like that word as well. That's great. So, because I experience that this is where I am is a real.
But that's the dream. That you experience is illusory. You don't experience. There is no you to do so. Honestly.
I can't get anywhere with this message.
Oh, not as of course. Where would you go?
I'm
There
trying.
is no here and there is no there. I never promised something like that.
But this is my question that I was going to say. I experience that I am
No.
sat.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I wait a bit.
It's
So
it is gorgeous. I experience no.
So apparently you believe to experience.
I experience that I'm sat in a room with this color carpet, this color wall, this color chair, this color table, blah, blah, blah. And I experience that there is another happening over there, which is a different room with a different color curtains, different color furniture, different color on the walls. And that's a separate happening. So if I was to come to yours, not only would I bombard you with questions for hours straight, but
I don't know if I would let you in, man.
no, no, but just hypothetically, if I came to yours, that would be a separate happening.
Well, yeah, for the eye, for you, everything is a separate happening.
So even if I didn't come to yours, say if I just went down the road to, I think all the shops are closed now for lockdown, but hypothetically, if I went into a shop, that would be seem to me like a separate happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the question is, if there's nobody there anymore in Andreas's body, if you went from your house into a shop, there would be no experience that you came from somewhere else.
Absolutely, yes.
So is that because when you're stood now in the shop? No, I'm really trying to understand this.
Oh, yeah, that's a problem.
I want to get it.
All right.
Is that because if you're now standing, say you're there and then you're standing now in a shop 5 minutes
Yeah,
later?
but no one experiences this. The whole picture that you are painting assumes there to be someone who would know that.
So when there's nobody who knows that.
Reality. What we talk about is a blind reality.
And when there's
There
no
is
one that knows
of anything.
Is it because the shop is everything, so there's no sense of there having been somewhere else?
No one knows if the shop is everything or not. There's just no one there experiencing anything.
There's no experience of the shop. There's just seeing. The eyes are seeing.
No. There isn't anything.
But the eyes can see and you can hear. The brain is interpreting what I'm saying.
Apparently. Well, interpreting would be too much.
Processing, whatever.
Yeah, yes.
So even though there's nobody doing that, there's an impersonal awareness.
One could say so, apparently, but no one knows that. But it's like an arm. Like this body apparently seems to have the function of awareness, like it also has an arm and legs. Yeah.
Great.
But
So that
no one is aware of that. It's neither who I am, nor has it any meaning. But compared to a stone, there seems to be awareness. But there's no experience of that. And there is no one there who identifies this awareness to be real and separate from the body, from the thoughts, from the air around, from the room.
Or separate from the awareness of another brain.
Yes.
So if this last question, I think, if the brain has an impersonal awareness, and nobody knows about it, but the brain apparently has an impersonal awareness, that is not your awareness. There's nobody with that awareness. The brain has an impersonal awareness.
Yes.
That impersonal awareness of the brain doesn't sense there to be anything or anywhere else other than what it sees. That's what I'm asking about.
Yeah, one could say so. Yeah. Yeah.
So the sense of I am, which is this personal awareness or whatever, claims there to be something else.
So to speak, by claiming that this is something that's here and then hoping that there is something else. But it still comes from the position of now here. Because in order to be something else, there must also be something that's now here in the first place.
So in order for there to be a now here, that's all the dream of personal awareness.
Absolutely.
So the impersonal awareness of the brain doesn't claim now here as
Yeah.
a knowing fixed position.
Exactly. Yes. The body doesn't do that. The body doesn't have the experience of I'm a body and I'm now here. It may put out this information, but it would be empty information. The only thing which would believe and experience this to be true would be self-awareness.
And that's a dream.
That's illusory, absolutely. And this can't be known until it drops.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Whew.
I'm just going around. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Ian, do you still want to say something? No? All right. Okay. Okay, so I see where I lost the chat. Okay, there was the schnitzel. Okay. Okay, here. Thanks, Andreas. Sorry, I've seen that. Okay, when self-awareness is the beginning of suffering, doesn't that also mean it could be the beginning of great pleasure? Is it not all in the dream? Well, I know what you mean. So, of course, there's just a subtle sense of unfulfillment. But of course, the person can have all kind of experiences. The person can feel great and lovely and blissful, or apparently there can be feelings of joy and bliss, and it gets the whole range. But subtly underlying, it would just be the assumption, no matter how good it feels, it would just be the assumption that it's not everything yet, that it's still just an experience on my path towards the actual. So yes, apparently there can be pleasure and pain, and yes, the person can experience pleasure and pain, but underlying it would subtly, energetically, which is a story, still say, well, that's not it. It's not everything. It's not really this is not what ends my seeking. That's the thing. When I speak of suffering, the person is suffering. It doesn't have to be dramatic and painful and all that stuff. What I refer to suffering would just be the assumption, well, it's not it yet. It's just not complete yet. But I'm moving towards the actual. I'm still subtly moving towards what I'm here for, what I'm alive. That's what I mean with suffering. Okay, question. It okay, other chat somehow went to the top. Okay, question. Thanks for being here, Andreas. Is non-conceptual knowing or being aware illusory? Yes, it seems that I, no thing, is aware. Please enlighten me. I can't enlighten you. I'm sorry, there is no you. But yes, knowing, so to speak, experiencing, which is knowing, the experience of consciousness, the experience to be aware is illusory, so to speak. I know there is a big movement about something that's called pure being or pure experiencing or coming out of the thoughts and have a more pure and fresh experience, and the hope that this will fulfill me. But it's just another unfulfilling experience, and the person just remains on a path with that. Yes. So this is not what it's spoken about here. Question. But isn't there a universal self? No, there isn't. No. No, there's just no self. So my impression that it's a hope from the person. I mean, one could say it's coming from logic, so to speak, because the experience of self-awareness feels very impersonal. Because without a personal story, there can be a sense of this being very neutral and clear and present. In the end, it'll be just felt now here within the body, so to speak. Or, well, it doesn't have to be the body, but it will be experienced now here. So it is the person. But out of this sensed neutrality, there can come the idea that there is a universal self or something like that. But there isn't. There isn't a small self, so to speak, and there isn't a universal self. Yeah, one moment. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Put another way, is no thing aware of itself? No, it isn't. No. Awareness itself is illusory. It is what seems to be happening, but nothing, but it's just empty and full, so to speak. But there is no real awareness about anything. If there is no one aware of it, then how can you speak about it? Well, that's the thing. I'm not speaking about it. There's just speaking. There's just an apparent report coming from functioning or from no thing. But this is not a description of an experience. There is nothing in here which has realized it and reports from awareness or reports from that experience. I understand, in a way, the person can't process it differently because all the person knows is to live from awareness or to live from experiencing. But it just isn't. The thing is, you can't, the problem is, so to speak, that you can't prove that or not. No one will be able to speak about it. I couldn't. There is nothing to say. It's just what happens. It's just what seems to be happening, but not because I have anything to say. It's not because before that chat, I will know what I'm going to say. It's not that I know how it is. It's just this direct report. There isn't anyone. There is no awareness. For no reason. Okay, there has to be somewhat separation to be able to speak about it. Yes, again, it's the same question, but I'm not speaking about anything. The speaking itself is what is spoken about. There is no issue here. We are not talking about something. There is no liberation, and there is no separate me, and there is no dropping of the me, and there is no awareness about this. This doesn't know itself. It just is itself. Words flowing, questions reading, hearing, thoughts, everything. It's just blindly itself. Okay, next question. Where was it? Here. Without a self to experience things, there is no feeling of past and present. So there is no construction of a chain of cause and effect. What William is calling logic. Yes, absolutely. That's what I mean. This whole reality where logic seems to take place in doesn't exist. An observation of separate events, of time passing, of one thing coming to one thing coming after the other. This would only happen, this impression that it is like that, only happens for something which observes it. Yes. But science is based on that chain. Yes. So are all scientific theories just stories? So is science of no use? Well, yes, absolutely. Totally. Science is what seems to be happening, but it's completely empty. And of no use in a sense that there is no truth in that. That there's nothing to find in that for the person on its quest for personal fulfillment. It's completely empty. Yes. Yeah. Science is a bit like spirituality on the outside. It's the person that's the hope. It's the person inquiring into the outside reality to find truth. While spirituality is the person inquiring into the inside reality in order to find truth. Both are illusory. Because it's this person that isn't real in the first place. Question. What's the difference between the experience of sitting in a room and just sitting in a room? Well, there is no difference in that. But seen from the person, so to speak, it seems to be different. Okay, a comment. The questions don't actually come from a known circumstance, despite what the questioner assumes so strongly. I am. Yes. This meeting is just what seems to be happening. There isn't anyone, neither in here nor anywhere else. There is no separate entity, no matter how it feels, no matter how it looks, so to speak. There isn't anyone. It's not even looking for what is already. Yes, seeking is illusory. There is no seeking going on here. Okay, question. Thinking about the question, why is there something rather than nothing? Can we say that this is in fact nothing? In other words, can we say that it is nothing appearing as something? Yes, on the one hand, we could say that, but on the other hand, it would just be a story, of course, because no one is aware of that. No one knows that. But, and it's nothing and something at the same time. Yes. It's not appearing out of. It's not that there's nothing, there is something appearing out of it. This is nothing and something. Okay. How long? Question. How long can the me survive this message? Well, the problem is that the me surviving just is wholeness as that. So in a story, it could go on forever. That's bad news. Okay, I think Avi has a question or wants to say something.
Hey,
Hello.
Andreas.
Hey.
Hi. I just wanted to comment on the science thing because this just happened apparently last week. There's a CERN, I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's some physics experiment where these scientists are, so everyone's familiar with this theory called the Big Bang. And the Big Bang is this theory that the universe started at some point. And this article, the conclusion of the headline of this article that came out last week is that scientists have figured out that universe shouldn't exist or universe shouldn't exist, says physicists. And it's all logical because basically the theory is proposes that the universe is something that there's time, and that the universe is something that started, and then there's this, right? So from this theory, then they have these kind of added on things where there's this matter, right? And there's antimatter. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to split they're splitting the matter into, and trying to figure out if there is, in order for the universe to exist, there has to be an asymmetry, they call it. So there has to be an asymmetry between matter and antimatter. So what they can't prove is that there is these two things, these two separate things that have some kind of, they can't prove this asymmetry. And then from this, right, we get this article that says universe shouldn't exist, says physicists, instead of that the Big Bang doesn't make sense or something.
Yes.
It's
yes.
so time has to be real.
So the scientist says, well, the universe shouldn't exist, but we are not there yet. It's the same thing what the spiritual person says, which says, well, there should be wholeness, but I'm not there yet. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's all so logical. It's so logical.
Absolutely, it seems to make sense.
It seems
to be logical, and it's so clear, but it's useless because I'm still here, not able to know what it actually means.
It's just not actually happening at all.
Yeah.
All right. Just wanted to share.
Lovely, yes. Yeah. And the funny thing, well, you're gone now. I mean, I think we talked about it already. I mean, the funny thing with this whole Big Bang picture is that it's actually a very personalized picture. It's exactly what the person experienced. But suddenly I'm there, and from then on, time happens. Something seemed to have happened. It's actually the Big Bang picture. There was nothing, and suddenly there was the universe. And since then, it's going on. There was no Big Bang. Nothing happened. No one was born. There is no universe going on. The Big Bang never happened. The birth of self-awareness never happened. Okay, questions. Question. Are there different flavors of enlightenment? Or is the interpretation of liberation dependent on someone's life story and experiences? Well, I mean, in a way, there are, yeah, what should I say? Enlightenment. Even that's where I fail. Well, apparently there are different flavors of people, just of what seems to be happening. So, kind of, but it's a bit theoretical for me. And in the end, there is no, I know what you mean, there is no real interpretation of liberation. And in one way or the other, there can just be an apparent report. And in one way or the other, they would be quite similar. Of course, there can be different stories around it, and I will tell different stories than someone else does. And that seems to be personal. That's what you may mean with a different flavor or something. But the basic report is emptiness. No report. Nothing can be said. Nothing is real. And I don't see the possibility for there be another thing that can be said. Not out of knowledge, not because it's not allowed or it would be wrong. Nothing is right or wrong. It's not about right or wrong. But the thing is, when there is no one, it's just, I don't know how, in what other kind of flavor you would say that, so to speak. But on the other hand, it's not the words. It's not, as I say, it's not about saying the right or wrong thing. Another question. Can getting rid of all my beliefs and concepts be a nice practical way to lessen my apparent anxiety and suffering? Well, maybe not. But to me, it sounds like a dream, getting rid of all my beliefs and concepts. So this doesn't happen, because the mere attempt to do that comes from a concept, a hope, an idea, a belief. So at least there's no connection to this message. This doesn't say that there is anything wrong with beliefs and concepts, so to speak. There's just no one having them. Okay, thanks, Andreas. Science and spirituality as similar outer and inner seeking processes makes a lot of sense. Yes, that's how it is experienced from the person. Without getting real answers. That's the thing. The person gets a result or an insight or knowledge from spirituality or science or from whatever, hoping that, oh wow, now I really got something. This was an important information. Now I'm a step closer. In the end, the underlying assumption is that I'm on a path to wholeness. And with every new knowledge or with every new insight, I moved on a little bit. But that's a complete dream. No one moves on. No one understood anything ever, really. Okay, there are some chat going on. That doesn't imply me. Okay. Is there love or is there loving? Be loving. Well, no one knows. No one knows really, because it's not an experience. Well, if you call no thing love, or if you want to call sitting in front of a screen love, then yes, but it's blind. It's blind in a sense that it doesn't know itself, or it does experience itself. It just is itself. And it's love in a way that there's nothing there which says no. There is no one who observes, there is no one who watches, and there isn't anyone judging what seems to be happening. In that sense, it's unconditional love. But it is exactly this. It's not this, and somewhere unconditional love is floating. No, it's implied, it's immanent. For no one. Comment. Very exciting. Even for nobody. Yes. Yes, it's gorgeous. Apparently. Okay. William is waiting. Hello.
So once the separate sense of self, it doesn't drop, but when it's no longer happening, whether that's a glimpse or full liberation, something is still apparently happening, but nobody knows there's something happening.
Yes, but in that sense, the first statement doesn't make sense, really. You know, when you said something is happening, but no one knows that something is happening. So it doesn't make sense, really.
But there could still be, so there's no sense of self there within
Apparently, yes.
within that body, and there's still someone on the screen looking and talking to you.
Apparently, yes. That's what seems to be happening, but there wouldn't be anyone knowing that. But this isn't logical.
So the body then just automatically responds to what's apparently happening.
Yes.
So the body, an answer might come out or a response, or the body might move and get something if it feels hot. It might go somewhere cooler or put an item of clothing on if it's too cold.
Yes.
So the body can adjust in and of itself and function independent of there being anyone in there to do it.
Yeah, well, I would put it the other way around. It's not really that the body adjusts to that. It was just a dream of the person that it is the doer of things, and that it also is the doer of the body. It never was like that. So the body just goes on functioning, so to speak. It does, apparently, it just does what it always did.
So, like how somebody said in the chat that nobody's asking questions here. I can't remember exactly what their comment was, but there's nobody asking questions, and something like the sense of I am would assume itself to be the one doing the questioning. So this body is apparently asking questions. There's nobody actually doing that. That's just the body's apparently asking questions.
Which would be another concept. In the end, no one knows that. But it's just what seems to be happening. You ask this body asking questions, and the assumption that there is someone or something living in that body doing it. All of that, no one is doing.
So nobody's even doing the I that claims that it's the one doing.
No. Oh no, no one's doing that. It's just what seems to be happening. It's like waking up in the morning. No one does that. Apparently, suddenly, there seems to be self-awareness when there is a person, out of nothing, not because someone was responsible for that. It's just what seems to be happening. It's not done, and it can't be prevented from happening. It's just what seems to be happening. Yep.
So there's nobody anywhere doing anything. There's just
Already. Absolutely. Yes.
and then the sense to be a person can have an apparent effect on the actions of the body.
One could say so, but you can't really separate it, because if that's what happens, that's just what seems to be happening. It can't really be separated.
And then also you were saying about unconditional love. So the person is the denial that this is already unconditional love.
Yes, which too is unconditional love.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like it because...
Yeah, that's why it's unconditional love. That's the unconditional part in it. Love doesn't say, oh, but it has to feel like love. Otherwise, it's not love. No, in that sense, love is blind. It doesn't know anything, well, not know, but there isn't anything beyond itself. There's just love. It can't discriminate. It doesn't say feeling like that is love and feeling like that is not love. No, it's unconditional. Everything is unconditionally itself. That is love itself, but it doesn't know itself to be love. It's not an experience of love.
So the unconditional love only becomes apparent when there's nobody there.
Oh no, nothing. No, it doesn't become apparent then.
So when you say that this is unconditional love,
it's not coming from something being aware of it. Again, it's an apparent report coming from nowhere.
So even though I might say, because I feel separate, I can't see that all there is unconditional love. But similarly, you too can't see that all there is unconditional love.
Oh yes, of course. Exactly. Yes. No one needs to see it. Yep. Yep. There is no I here.
So what apparently is happening doesn't belong to anyone or anywhere,
Absolutely.
and that's why it's already free and whole,
One could say so, yes.
because it can't be contained within a knowing or a seeing or an understanding.
So to speak, it's not really because of that, but it's just no thing. Yeah.
Well, the only thing I'm thinking now is, so this doesn't lead to anything else. This doesn't lead to anywhere.
Of course, yes. Because it's not an it in the first place. It's timeless. Sitting in front of a screen is no thing. Timeless, spaceless, unknowably. Again, in order for this to lead somewhere, it would need to be something now. But it's not, it's already not something now. It's
So
just this.
So this isn't really happening.
Yes.
And even to say that this seems to be happening, or this is apparently happening, there's still no knowing.
Exactly. Seen from the person. If the person would still somehow hear happening. When I say, well, this is apparently happening, the person would still hear, yeah, so it's happening somehow. Maybe apparent, but no, it's not happening. This is not happening. This is not something that happens. This is not a this. It is not an it. There is no it.
You leave me without anywhere to go. It's painful, because I sense the freedom, like I really sense the freedom, but it's painful because I think, well, there is nowhere to go with the questioning, with the meeting, with this conversation. There's nowhere to go with it.
Absolutely, not a bit.
And that I experience a lot of pain and frustration.
Absolutely, yeah, because this is not just the presentation of the concept that there is nowhere to get. No, there is nowhere to go. And for the person, that can be utterly painful, because its whole existence depends on the possibility to go somewhere. No, there is nowhere to go. Nothing will ever be realized. Nothing will be known. There is no one on a path. Seen from the person, that's unpleasant.
And then when there's no longer the sense of being someone, there's not even an awareness that there could be anywhere to go. There's not an awareness that this is already somewhere. And so there's no pain in this already being everything,
yes.
or being nothing.
Yes. Yep.
And there wouldn't be a conceptual holding of this as, because when I say this is nothing, there's still a conceptual that nothing is a something.
Only whenever there is a sense of a person, there will be some objectification. Always. It doesn't matter, but it's inevitable, because the person only lives in a subject-object reality. Only.
So even
whatever I say for the person, it will somehow remain conceptual
as a something, because even to say this is nothing, it's conceptual, like the nothing is a something called nothing.
Yes, and as before, the person really thinks that we talk about something. The person really thinks that we talk about an issue, as if there is this talking happening, and as if there's a separate issue that we talk about. No, we don't. But this would already be an objectification. The hope that there is an object, something which this is about.
So even the apparent unraveling of the contracted energy of feeling separate that seems to be happening, for me, it feels like a big difference, say, from month to month, as I've been interacting with you and talking with this message. It seems like there's huge shifts taking place every month And you're saying that's not a real thing that happens over time with
Yes,
substance.
exactly. Absolutely. Yes.
So even the sense that I'm in a process and the seeking has to become less and less and less and less until it's unraveled is a story, because when there's no longer any sense of anyone being left, there was never that process taking place.
It turned out that this whole life, this whole seeming existence, this whole path never really happened. Yes, absolutely.
For the person to hear that is very, for me, very painful, because
Yeah.
I think if these experiences never really happened, then I don't know who I am, because I identify
Absolutely.
as a collection of these experiences that have happened.
Yes, exactly. Oh yeah, absolutely. In a scene from the person, what this message seems to do is deny one's existence. And seen from the person, its existence is the only thing it has, and it's the most valuable thing it has. Because all the hopes and all the efforts were based on this existence. So it's for the person, it can be very painful, the outcome, that this didn't matter, that it didn't have meaning, that nothing was achieved, because all its apparent joy was based on the hope, oh well, I already got something, and the hope that I may know everything, or I may become a really fulfilled me. That's all that counts in the personal reality. Yes.
So the me doesn't want to have its existence denied.
For example, yes.
And so it will keep on affirming itself.
It wants to be. Because in order to become a fulfilled me, it needs to be here now. It needs to survive every moment in order to arrive at its fulfillment. That's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. But everything else would just be an ideal, so to speak.
I can't understand this at
Yeah.
all. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, there's a statement. Without the conditioning, only love is. Without the without the conditioning, only hate is. Well, maybe just this doesn't really say anything about conditioning, because what's being said here is basically that there is no one having a conditioning. So there may be a conditioned body, apparently, but there is no one imprisoned into that. So often, or what you often hear in teachings, is that people tell you that you should get rid of your conditioning, and then you will be free. Then you'll be a free me. Then you'll be enlightened or whatever. But all I know is people who try to get rid of their conditioning. So I don't know anyone who's actually really succeeded in it. So what's being said here, that there is no one imprisoned. There isn't anyone imprisoned into thoughts, into feelings, into conditioning, into this body. That's the dream, that there is someone in the first place. Question. It seems like without memory, things would just be happening impersonally, but because of memory and the accumulation of knowledge, the illusion of me and time arises. Well, again, I would put it the other way round. I would say within the dream, the existence of I am, so to speak, comes first, and the whole the whole separate reality, which is only dreamt, comes out of that. So the experience of presence, the experience of time, the experience that memory is real, that memories come from a personal experience, and all that. And it doesn't work the other way. Not that it ever works. Sorry, it's the wrong word. I'm lacking a word here, but it's not working the other way around. So it's exactly the same thing with the conditioning. And that's what almost all spirituality is about, trying to cut off the symptoms to create no me. It's trying to cut off the seeking. It's trying to cut off the conditioning because it thinks that this is what imprisons me. But you just end up trying to do something with this which is impossible. You try to not think anymore. You try to do all kinds of things, and the person never really succeeds in that, because those things never were the problem in the first place. There is no problems with thoughts. There is no problems with feelings. There is no problem with there being a conditioned body, so to speak. It just seems to be a problem for the apparent person who is separate from it and only experiences it. And that's why also from the personal experience, there are always these conditions set. When I don't think anymore, then I'll be free. When there will be only good feelings, I would be a happy person. When I earn 1 million or 5 million or 10 million euros, dollars, then I'll be happy. When, if. But no, everything is unconditionally itself. How did you fill all the hours you used to spend seeking once seeking stopped? Well, I didn't fill them anymore. I didn't fill them, but something, I don't know, it happened by itself. That's the thing. There isn't anyone left who needs to do that. But life seems to be happening. But the seeker can become really afraid of that. What if there's nothing I need to do? What will I do with my life? But this life isn't real. So, is this message also another concept? Well, yes and no. One could say, seen from the person, it will be regarded as a concept. It will be another something that I can believe or not, another something that might be true or not. But in the end, there is no real message. That's the thing. I don't pass on something. I'm not telling a truth. I'm not claiming and say, that's how it is. I know it. There is no message. There isn't anything that can be said. But again, the person would turn this into a concept and may believe it or not, and may try to realize it or not, which wouldn't have anything to do with what's actually being said here. That's the thing. When I say there is no one, apparently it's a direct report. The person would translate it into its reality and take it as a truth or a lie. Ah, okay, understand. There isn't anyone. Get it. That's what the person would do it. But then it would be conceptualized. It would have taken no message, empty words, and give meaning to them and truth and maybe authority or not. I don't know. If you think it's crap, then you won't give it authority. Then it would be lying or something like that. Okay. Great questions, everyone. Yes, thank you very much. I think so too. Okay. I heard some scientists say that this process of identity that seems to be falling away ever more often is part of human evolution. Is this true? And how would you know? Yes, exactly. It would be another story. I know within the dream, this is a story that might be possible, so to speak. But yes, so it seems to be falling away ever more often. So this might then this would be another step in evolution. Though there is no evolution. I know that even biologists, they don't talk about evolution anymore. They just speak about change. They already gave up hope that it gets better, actually. At least. So yes, it might be a reasonable story, but in the end, who would know that? Again, it would be the illusion of self-awareness. Sensing is illusory. Yeah, everything is. It doesn't matter. No mind, no matter. Yes, that's what I mean. What I meant, there is no it. Actually, there is no it, which could or couldn't matter. Absolutely. So it doesn't matter is a story. Okay, question. If an apparent person gets whacked on the head with a non-existent 2x4, it seems that it would really hurt in this apparently real world. Please comment. It seems very difficult to say that nothing is happening or it never happened. Oh, well, for the person, it's impossible to say that because the person would experience being banged on the head and it would experience the pain and it would claim it to be real and it would claim it to be happening to itself. Yes. Yeah. But on the other hand, the person might take these words as a concept, nothing is real, and hope that this would actually change its experience. Like a bit like, if I would know that everything is an illusion, I wouldn't need to feel the pain. But it's not like that. There is no way out. One could say there is no way out from pain because the pain already isn't real. It's what seems to be happening, but it's not real in that sense. This would be another way of seeing it. You can't do anything about anything because nothing is real. If there would be a real person, if there would be real suffering, one might even be able to really do something about it. But there just isn't anyone. Okay. True or not true is impossible to confirm. A truth seems to fall and rely things that relate to each other. Yes, absolutely. True or not true just doesn't count. Who would know the one or the other? Absolutely. Okay. I love this message, and yet it is so painful to hear it. This message is pure love because it's not trying to make anyone feel good. Yes, because it doesn't recognize anyone as existing in the first place. Oh, yes, absolutely. Apparently, is constantly pointing out for no reason that this is it already. There isn't anyone. It's this. Nothing needs to change. Nothing can change. It doesn't need change. There is no one who has lost something. There is no one who still needs something. There isn't anything that still needs something. Okay, hello from Scotland. Hello. Hello back. Andreas, how do you know that non-duality is just an altered state of mind, just another illusion? Well, in the end, there is no knowledge about that. This isn't known. But no, I forgot what. No, I forgot what I wanted to say. But this whole question doesn't really make sense anymore, because there isn't anything here which claims to be in a state or in the right state. There isn't anything which claims here that the truth has happened here. In that sense, there is nowhere where I'm at, nor is there anything which could or needs to defend this no position, because then it would be another position again. So I don't advertise for something. I'm not sitting here saying I'm in a true state, follow me, or do that as well, or whatever. No, there just are no states. And the other thing, if it would be another illusion, one could say it like that, there would something being here trying to keep it up. I would somehow need to believe to live in a circumstance. So, but there isn't anything walking around, for example, telling myself, I am no one, there is no one. It's not a state. What is being talked about here is not a circumstance. It's not a state. It's not making a division between what seems to be going on here and what seems to be going on over there. But on the other hand, the person will never know. It can't be proven. What's being spoken about here will never be proven. And I can't prove it to you. And I don't know what I would need to prove, or what I could prove. But for the person will never know. Is Andreas right or not? Is there someone? Is he faking it? Maybe. Or the person can think, yeah, maybe there isn't anyone. But what if there is someone? Well, the person will never know. Yeah, the hours still get filled apparently. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Okay, question. I assume this is stunning for you too, because you don't know it and are hearing it for the first time. Kind of. It's fresh. At least it's whole. It's fresh. There seems to be a freshness. Not really because it's new in a sense of it has been newly created, but yes. Okay, where was I in the chat? Boop, boop, boop. Okay, thanks for these. Thank you. Okay, we still have a few minutes. And yes, maybe I say that. There'll be a retreat in March. And another question. Andreas, do you think the Zooms, etc., will carry on after COVID? We'll say, I think I'll do some Zooms, but I'm also looking forward to have live meetings, so to speak, which I'm usually doing. Usually I'm traveling around and having those live meetings, and they are also fun. So maybe I'll do both. There'll be online stuff also going on. We'll see. Okay, and yes, the question. It just totally blindsides you. I thought I was listening to non-duality talks for a reason, that I was trying to understand a message. Oh, yes. Yeah. No, there is no message. There is only unconditional COVID. Yes, COVID is unconditionally itself. Yes, it's unknowable It's nothing and something. Yeah. Okay. Coming back to England then. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Outside of Europe, but I think I'll try. Yeah. Okay, question. When the person dies, is it like falling in love? Because nothing could become any more perfect. Yes, that's the thing. I mean, it's a bit the problem, because whatever I say, the person will turn it into an experience or something that someone is aware of. But in a way, it is like that. It's an utter surprise that it's whole and complete exactly as it is. It's not, the person can't assume what this is, because the person always again assumes a circumstance, assumes love to be in a certain way. If it feels like that, if certain things don't happen anymore, if I'm aware of it, that's the basic thing the person assumes, but that it's just already perfect, not out of holiness, not out of some kind of shiny specialness or something. No, that it's just in a very ordinary and kind of down to earth way, whole and complete, which doesn't need change, which doesn't need bright colors and all that stuff. No, it's this. It's this. And at the same time, it's utterly perfect for no one. Doesn't need anything. It's anything. It's when personal will dies. Yes, I mean it's yes. I mean it's already whole when there is personal will, but also not for anyone. I like that one. Thank not you for the meeting. Thank you. Always entertaining listening to nobody talking about nothing. Yeah. Okay. Do you feel what's going on in the world is a battle between good and evil? Quite obvious. It's not just about a virus. Well, to be honest, not really. No. No, no. I'm sorry. No. When Andreas makes plans, how does he remember them? Funny. Oh, I don't need to remember them, but remembering so far happens quite well. Apparently, I'm good at that. But it's just what seems to be. It doesn't need me. That's a good thing. Making plans don't need someone to do so. It's just what seems to be happening. You want to say something? But we can't hear you. I can't hear you again, still.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Andreas. This has been really epic. And I'm looking forward to your March retreat, March 6th and 7th. If everyone is watching, it's a couple of days with Andreas. And you can go to his website, the Timeless Wonder. Is it .com, Andreas? Or
Yes, exactly. Yes.
The timelesswonder.com. And he also has a few books available on Amazon. The latest one that I read was really great, with Justin Miller. How was that book?
Well, what do you mean?
Oh, no, to tell us about that book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called No Point Perspective. Exactly. That's what Justin and Justin actually asked to do it, and we had quite a few conversations and just printed them, made a book out of it. Yeah, it was lovely.
I think there's Ian there for a last question. Ian, did you want to? Ian just popped in.
No, I think he's just
okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for this. I know it's a new format, with the streaming, but I think it worked really great. I really enjoyed the people popping in and out.
Yeah, it just took a while for me to come in. But
me too.
Someone's asking, maybe this is another technical question. The retreat, will it be on Zoom or on like this one?
It will be on Zoom.
Yeah, the retreat will be on Zoom.
That's right. It will be an intimate Zoom with a few people and live Q&A. There's a mingling room in between. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Okay, so I do a closing something.
Okay, go ahead, Andreas. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks Emerson, and thanks Noel for doing that. And apart from that, there's no message. There's nothing to say. There is no suggestion. There is no teaching. There is no way to be right or wrong, because there isn't any one being in the first place. There's no path. There's just what seems to be happening, which is blindly itself. It's this, nothing else. Thank you very much for joining, and have a lovely day or evening.